A Dog's Life.
It was a cold winter day, and Molly was restless. She was hungry and her stomach hurt. Left chained, there was nowhere she could go to escape the cold. Looking toward the house, she could see her family inside. She wished she could go indoors and be with them, even for just a few minutes. Maybe Justin would give her a pat on the head, scratch her ears, and tell her she was a good girl. Maybe Ashley would slip her a scrap of bread when Mom and Dad weren't looking. But no one noticed Molly looking inside longingly. Her doghouse was old and falling apart. It didn't keep out the rain or the freezing wind. She was always cold. Molly hadn't always lived outside. When the family brought her home as a puppy, she lived indoors with them. Justin liked to play tug-of-war with her. He would throw a tennis ball and laugh as it bounced all over, and Molly happily chased and tried to catch it. At night, Ashley would pick her up, hug and kiss her, and put her on her bed so she could snuggle with her under the covers. But sometimes, Justin and Ashley waited too long before taking Molly outside, and when she just couldn't hold it any longer, she would have an accident on the rug. She would get so excited when her family came home that she would jump up on them and try to lick their faces. That's the way dogs greet each other in the wild. But Dad would get angry and push her away. This confused Molly. Why weren't they happy to see her? Once, when she had been left home alone all day, Molly got bored and chewed on the legs of the sofa. She was teething and needed something to chew on to loosen her baby teeth and soothe her aching gums. She didn't realize that her family considered the couch for humans only. Those legs looked so tempting, just like the sticks Justin would throw for her in the yard. Mom was so angry when she saw what Molly had done that she ordered Justin to take her outside. At first, Molly was excited. She thought she and Justin were going outside to play. But Justin wasn't in the mood to play. He hooked a chain to Molly's collar and went inside without even a backward glance. Molly never went in the house again. Molly had forgotten how long she had been outside. All she remembered was being so hot in the summertime that her head felt like it was on fire. In the winter, she could never get warm and had nowhere to sleep but on the cold, hard ground. She remembered the time when the other dogs started coming around. She didn't understand why they were bothering her, and she wished they would go away. She tried to get away from them, but she couldn't. She had nowhere to run or hide. After that, she remembered being hungry all the time. It seemed like no matter how much she ate, she was still hungry. The cold weather made it worse. She needed extra food to keep her body warm when it was cold outside. She was restless one night. It was very cold, below freezing. Just after midnight, she gave birth to 10 tiny puppies. They were damp and nearly hairless, and no match for the bitter wind. She knew she must do something to keep them warm. She tried to lie on top of them to warm them with her body heat, but it wasn't any use. The puppies grew colder and colder. The next day, Emily, Rachel, and Sam, 3 kids who sometimes visited Molly and brought her treats and petted her, stopped by on the way home from school. From the sidewalk, they could see the tiny puppies lying on the frozen ground.
What's that? It looked like puppies.
They ran toward Molly to get a closer look. She was so excited to see them. Maybe they could save her puppies. The kids could see that Molly and the puppies needed help.
They don't have any food or shelter from the cold. Those poor dogs. We have to do something. Let's tell my mom and see what she thinks we should do.
The kids ran to Rachel's house and told her mother what they had found.
That's cruelty to animals. Puppies can't survive in the cold. Everybody knows that. I'm calling the animal shelter.
When the animal control officer arrived, She took one look at the puppies and at Molly, whose food bowl was empty and whose water bowl was frozen, and who had nothing but a piece of plywood for shelter. She knew immediately what she had to do. She unhooked Molly from her chain and gently gathered up her puppies.
Where are you taking her?
I'm taking her back to the animal shelter, where she'll be safe and warm.
But what will happen to her?
We will get her spayed so that she won't have any more puppies. Then we'll try and find her and her puppies new families that will love them and allow them to live indoors.
Mom, we could give Molly a home.
We'll talk it over with your father when he gets home.
A week later.
Are you kids ready for some lunch?
Okay, Mom. We'll be there in a minute.
I'm so glad your mom and dad let you adopt Molly.
Yeah, after all she's been through, she deserved a good home. I only wish that all dogs who are chained up had someone like us to look out for them.
This fictional story was inspired by the true story of a dog in Afton, New York, who gave birth to 10 puppies on a cold January night. Thanks to a group of children who discovered them, the dog's owner was charged with 10 counts of cruelty to animals. Did you know? Dogs study faces to read our expressions, which help them communicate with us and understand what we want them to do. A dog named Rico has learned more than 200 words and can remember the names of toys he hasn't seen in more than a month. Scientists say his learning ability is equal to that of a 3-year-old child. Dogs have a super sensitive sense of smell. That's why they drool and want a taste of food whenever it is around. It all smells so good. A dog named Red at the Battersea Dogs and Cats home in England learned how to open his kennel at night and then went around letting his friends out of their cages. Video cameras showed that he always let out his best friend Lucky first. He and Lucky were found together as strays. Danelle Ballingee's life was saved by her shelter mutt Taz after she fell 60 feet down a cliff while jogging. Taz ran back to Danelle's truck and when a search team arrived, led them 5 miles up the trail to where Danelle had fallen.
Friends don't chain friends. Let dogs live indoors. Do you want to help dogs and other abused animals? Check out PETAKids.com today for information, games, contests, and more. For more free comics, email PETAKids@PETA.org.